वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुता पदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द
भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं त्वां सजीवं स्वाद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत्य राधा कांत नमस्ते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधी बिन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Introduction to Gita Upanishad by A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam, Easy Journey to Other Planets, editor of Back to Godhead, etc. Bhagavad Gita is known also Gita Upanishad, the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important of the various Upanishads in Vedic literature. This Bhagavad Gita, there are many commentations in English, and what is the necessity of another English commentation of the Bhagavad Gita can be explained in the following way. One, one American lady, Mrs. Charlotte Leblen, asked me uh, or to recommend an English edition of Bhagavad Gita which he can read. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of English Bhagavad Gita, but so far I have seen that not only in America, but also India, none of them can be said strictly as authoritative because uh, almost every one of them have expressed their own opinion through the commentation of the Bhagavad Gita without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If we want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the particular direction mentioned on the label of the medicine. We cannot take the particular medicine according to our own direction or by the direction of a friend. But we have to take the medicine under the direction given on the level of the bottle and as directed by the physician. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita also should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself. The speaker of the Bhagavad Gita is Lord Sri Krishna. He is mentioned in every page of the Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Of course, Bhagavan is sometimes designated to any powerful person or any powerful demigod. But here, Bhagavan is certainly designated to Sri Krishna, a great personality. But at the same time, we must know that Lord Sri Krishna, as he is confirmed by all the acharyas, I mean to say, even Shankaracharya, Ramanucharya, Madhyacharya, Nimbar Goswami, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many others. In India, there were many authoritative scholars and acharyas, authorities of the Vedic knowledge, all of them, including Shankaracharya, has accepted Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God. The Lord Himself has also established Himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita. He is accepted so in the Brahma Samhita and all Puranas, especially in the Bhagavad Puranam, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So therefore, we should take Bhagavad Gita as it is directed by the personality of Godhead Himself. So, in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Imang vivassati jugam praktaman aham abhayam vivasyan manabe praha maru rikha kave bravik evang parampara praptam imang rajar sayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yoga nasta parantapa saivayang maya te adya yoga prakta puratana bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasam jitad uttama. The idea is, the Lord said to Arjuna that this yoga, this system of yoga, Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken by me to the sun god. And the sun god explained to Manu. Manu explained to Ikkaku. And in that way, by disciplic succession, one after another, this yoga system is coming, and in course of time, this system is now lost, and therefore I am speaking to you the very same yoga system again, the very same old yoga system of Bhagavad Gita or Gita Upanishad, because you are my devotee and you are my friend. Therefore, it is possible for you only to understand. Now, the purport is that Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is specially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the jnani, the yogi, and the bhakta, or the impersonalist, or the meditator, or the devotee. So here it is clearly mentioned. The Lord says to Arjuna that I am speaking, or I am making you the first man of the parampara, because the old parampara or disciplic succession is now broken. Therefore, I wish to establish again another parampara in the same line of thought as it was coming down from the sun god to uh, others. So you take it and you distribute it, or the system, the yoga system of Bhagavad Gita may now be distributed through you. You become the authority of understanding Bhagavad Gita. Now, here is a direction that Bhagavad Gita is especially instructed to Arjuna, the devotee of the Lord, the direct student of Krishna. And not only that, he is intimately in touch with Krishna as friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is understood by a person who has similar qualities like Krishna. That means he must be a devotee, he must be a, in relation, direct relationship with the Lord. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he has a direct relationship also with the Lord. That is a subject matter, very long, but briefly it can be stated that a devotee is in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in 5 ways. One may be a devotee in a passive state, one may be a devotee in active state, one may be a devotee as a friend, one may be a devotee as parent, and one may be a devotee as conjugal lover. So Arjuna was a devotee in relationship with the Lord as a friend. The Lord can become a friend. Of course, this friendship and the conception of friendship which you have got in the mundane world, there is a gulf of difference. This is transcendental friendship, which uh, not that everyone will have the relationship with the Lord. Everyone has got a particular relationship with the Lord, and that particular relationship is evoked by the perfection of devotional service. At the present status of our life, we have not only forgotten the Supreme Lord, but also we have forgotten our eternal relationship with the Lord. Every living being out of many, many millions and billions of living beings, each and every living being has got a particular relationship with the Lord eternally. That is called Sarup. Sarup. And by the process of devotional service, one can revive that Sarup of oneself. And that stage is called Sarup Siddhi, perfection of one's constitutional position. So Arjun was a devotee, and he was in touch with the Supreme Lord in friendship. Now, this Bhagavad Gita was explained to Arjun, and how Arjun accepted it. That should also be noted. How Arjun accepted the Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in the 10th chapter, just like Arjun Uvacha, Parang Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusam Sasatam, Divyam Adi Deva Ajang Bihu, Ahustyam Rishaya Sarve, Devarsi Naradastatha, Asita Devala Vyasa, Sayancheva Bravisive, Sarvameta Ritangamanne, Jat Mang Badasi Kesava, Nahi De Bhagavan Bhakting, Vidud Deva Nadanova. Now Arjun says, after hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he accepts Krishna as Param Brahma, the Supreme Brahma. Brahma, uh, uh, every living being is Brahma. But the Supreme living being, or the Supreme Personality of God, is the Supreme Brahma, or Supreme living being. And Param Dhama means he is the supreme rest of everything. And Pavitrang means he is pure from material contamination, and his address at Purusam. Purusam means the supreme enjoyer. Sasatam, Sasatam means from very beginning. He is the first person. Dibba, transcendental. Deva, the supreme personality of Godhead. Aja, never born, Vibhu, the greatest. Now, one may doubt that because Krishna was uh, the friend of Arjuna, therefore he might say all these things to his own friend. But Arjuna, uh, just to uh, drive out this kind of doubt in the mind of the readers of Bhagavad Gita, he establishes his proposition by the authorities. He says that Lord Sri Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead not only by himself, Arjuna, but he is so accepted by authorities like Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa. These personalities are great personalities in distributing the Vedic knowledge. They're accepted by all acharyas. Therefore, Arjuna says that whatever you have spoken so far to me, uh, I accept them um, as completely perfect. Sarvameta Ritanamanni. uh, I I take it, I believe it, that whatever you have spoken, they are all right. And your personality of Godhead is very difficult to understand. And therefore, uh, mm, you cannot be known by uh, even the demigods. You cannot be known even by the demigods. That means the Supreme Personality Godhead cannot be known even by greater personalities than the human being. And how a human being can understand Sri Krishna without becoming his devotee. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in a spirit of devotee of Lord Sri Krishna. One should not think that he is equal on the same level of Sri Krishna, or one should not think that he is an ordinary personality, maybe a very great personality. No, Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, at least theoretically, on the statement of Bhagavad Gita, or on the statement assertion of Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita, we should accept Sri Krishna uh, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then with that submissive spirit, unless one receives this Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit and oral reception, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. So, in this Bhagavad Gita, we may survey what is this Bhagavad Gita. This Bhagavad Gita is meant for uh, delivering persons from the nescience of this material existence. every man is in difficulty in so many ways. And as Arjuna also was in difficulty in the matter of fighting the battle of Kurukshetra, and as such, he surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and therefore this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Similarly, not only Arjuna, but every one of us is always full of anxieties due to our this material existence. Asadgraha, it is our existence is in the uh, mm, environment or atmosphere of non-existence. But actually, we are not an mm, non-existent. Our existence is eternal. But somewhere other, we are put into this asat. Asat means which does not exist. Now, out of so many human beings who are actually inquiring about his position as to what he is, why he is put into this awkward position of suffering. Uh, unless one is awakened to this position, that why I am suffering, I do not want all these sufferings. I have tried to make a solution of all these sufferings, but I have failed. Unless one is in that position, he is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiries are awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jigyasa, Adhatu Brahma Jigyasa. And every activity of a human being is to be considered a failure without having this inquiry in his mind. So, persons who have awakened this inquiry into his mind as to what I am, why I am suffering, where from I have come, or where I shall go after death. Uh, When these inquiries come or awaken in the mind of a sane human being, then he is practically the right student for understanding Bhagavad Gita. And he must be Sadhama. Sadhama. He must have a respect, a fond respect in the Supreme Personality of God. Such a person, as the ideal person was Arjuna. So, uh, so Lord Krishna, he discerns Jada Jada Hi Dharmasya Glani Bhavati, just to establish the real purpose of life. When man forgets the real purpose of life, the mission of human form of life, then it is called Dharma Sanglani, the disturbance of the occupation of human being. So, in that circumstances, out of many, many human beings who awakens one who awakens the spirit of understanding his position. Uh, for him, this Bhagavad Gita mm, is spoken. We are just like swallowed by the tigress of missiles, and Lord being causelessly merciful upon the living uh, entities, especially for the human being. He spoke Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjun as the student. Arjuna was certainly uh, mm, being an associate of Lord Krishna. He was above all ignorance, but still, uh, Arjuna was put into ignorance in the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question about the problems of life to the Supreme Lord so that the Lord can explain them uh, for the benefit of future uh, generation of human beings to chalk out the plan of his life and act in that way so that his life, his mission of human life can be perfect. So, in this Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter is comprehending five different truths. The first truth is what is God? It is the preliminary study of the science of God. So, that science of God is explained here. Next, the, the constitutional position of the living entities, Jiva, Ishara and Jiva. The Lord, the Supreme Lord, is called Ishara. Ishara means controller. And Jiva, the living entities, and mm, the Jivas, the living entities, they are not Ishara or the controller. They are controlled uh, artificially. If they, I say that I am not controlled, I am free. Uh, this is not the sign of a sane man. A living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. He is controlled. So, in this Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter comprehends about the Ishara, the supreme controller, and about the controlled living entities, and Prakriti, the nature, the material nature, and next, the time, duration of existence of the whole universe, or this manifestation of the material nature, and the duration of time, or the eternal time, and karma. Karma means activity. Everything, the whole universe, whole manifestation, cosmic manifestation, uh, is full of different activities. The living being, especially, they are all engaged in different activities. So we have to study from the Bhagavad Gita, uh, Ishara, what is God, Jiva, what are these living entities? And Prakriti, what is this cosmic manifestation? And how it is controlled by time? And what are these activities? Now, out of these five subject matter, in the Bhagavad Gita, it establishes that the Supreme Godhead or Krishna or Brahma or Paramatma, you may call whatever you like, but the Supreme Controller, there is a Supreme Controller. So the Supreme Controller is the greatest of all. And the living beings, they are in quality like the Supreme Controller. Just like the Supreme Controller, the Lord, he has control over the universal affairs, over the material nature, how it will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita that this material nature is not independent. She is acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharachara. This material nature is working under my direction, Maya dakshena, under my superintendence. So we are mistaken when we see wonderful things happening in the cosmic nature. We should know that behind these wonderful manifestations, there is a controller. Uh, Nothing can be manifested without being controlled. It is childish to uh, not to consider about the controller. Uh, just like a very nice motor car with very good speed and very good engineering arrangement is running on this street. A child may think that how this motor car is running without the help of any horse or any fooling agent. Uh, but a sane man or an elderly person, he knows that in spite of all engineering arrangements in the motor car, uh, without the driver, it cannot move. That engineering arrangement of a motor car or an electric powerhouse, now at the present moment, it is the day of machinery. But we should always know that behind the machinery, behind the wonderful uh, working of the machinery, there is a driver. So the Supreme Lord is the driver, Adhaksha. He is the Supreme Personality under whose direction everything is working. Now, these jiva or the living entities, they have been accepted by the Lord in this Bhagavad Gita, as we'll know it in later chapters. So they are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. Mamaivansa jiva bhuta. Ansa means parts and parcel. Now, as the particle of gold is also particle, a drop of water of the ocean is also salty. Similarly, we, the living entities, being part and parcels of the supreme controller, Ishvara, Bhagavan, or Lord Sri Krishna, we have got, I mean to say, uh, qualitatively, all the qualities of the Supreme Lord in mind, because we are minute Ishvara, subordinate Ishvara. We are also trying to control. We are just trying to control over the nature. In the present days, you are trying to control over the space. You are trying to float, imitation, uh, planets. Uh, so this tendency of controlling or creating is there because partially we have got that controlling tendency. But we should know that this tendency is not sufficient. We have the tendency of controlling over the material nature, lording it over the material nature. But we are not the supreme controller. Uh, that thing is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Then, what is this material nature? The nature is also explained. The nature, material nature, is explained in the Bhagavad Gita as inferior Prakriti. Inferior Prakriti and the living entities are explained as the superior Prakriti. Prakriti means which is controlled, which is under Prakriti. Real meaning of Prakriti is a woman or a female, just like a husband controls the activities of his wife. Uh, Similarly, the Prakriti is also a, subordinate, predominated. The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the predominator, and this Prakriti, both the living entities and the material nature, they are different Prakritis or predominated, controlled by the Supreme. So, according to Bhagavad Gita, the living entities, although they are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, they are taken as Prakriti. It is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, aparayam, itasu vidhi apara. This material nature is apara, yeah, itasu, and beyond this, there is another Prakriti. And what is that Prakriti? Jiva Bhuta. These. So, this Prakriti, the constitution of this Prakriti is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. And about these modes, three different kinds of modes: goodness, passion, and I mean to say ignorance. There is eternal time. Uh, there is eternal time. And by combination of these uh, modes of nature and under the control, under the purview of this eternal time, there are activities. There are activities which is called karma. These activities are, mm, mm, are being done from time immemorial, and we are uh, suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. Just like in the present life also, we enjoy the activities, the fruits of our activities. Suppose I am a businessman and I have worked very hard with intelligence, and I have amassed a vast amount of bank balance. Now I am the enjoyer. Similarly, suppose I started my business with a vast amount of money, by I failed to make it successful. I lost all the money. So I am sufferer. So similarly, in every field of her life, we enjoy, we enjoy the result of our work. This is called karma. So these things, Ishara, Jiva, Prakriti, are the Supreme Lord, are the living entity, the material nature, the eternal time, and our different activities. These things are explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, and the material nature and time, these four items are eternal. Now, manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that this manifestation of material nature is false. But according to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, they do not accept the manifestation of the world as false. They accept that the manifestation is real, but it is temporary. It is just like a cloud takes place in the sky and the rainy season begins. And after the rainy season, there are so many new green vegetation all over the field we can see. And as soon as the rainy season is finished, then the cloud is vanquished. Generally, gradually, all this vegetation dry up, and again the land becomes barren. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval. We will understand it, we will know it from the pages of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhutta bhutta praliyate. These manifestation becomes magnificent at a certain interval, and again it disappears. That is the work of the Prakriti. But it is working eternally. That Prakriti is eternal. It is not false, because the Lord has accepted mama Prakriti, my Prakriti. Aparayam itastu vidhi me Prakriti tvaram. Bhinna Prakriti. Bhinna Prakriti, apara Prakriti. This material nature is a separate energy of the Supreme Lord, and the living entities. They are also energy of the Supreme Lord, but they are not separated. They are eternally related. So, the Lord, the living entity, the nature, material nature, and time, they are all eternal. But the The other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma or activity may be very old. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from a time immemorial, but still we can change the result of our karma or activity. That will depend on our perfect knowledge. We are um, engaged in various activities, undoubtedly, but we do not know what sort of activities we shall adopt that will give us relief from the actions and reactions of all activities. That is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, the position of Ishvara is a supreme consciousness. Position of Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is supreme consciousness. And the jivas or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, he is also conscious. A living entity is also conscious. The living entity is explained as prakriti, energy, and the material nature is also explained as prakriti. But amongst the two, one prakriti, the jivas, they are conscious. The other prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the jiva prakriti is called superior because the jiva has consciousness similar to the Lord. The Lord is supreme consciousness. One should not claim that a jiva, a living entity, is also supremely conscious. No, a living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection. This is a misleading theory. No, this is misleading theory. But he is conscious, that's all. But he is not supreme conscious. The supreme conscious, it will be explained in the Bhagavad Gita in the chapter where the distinction between the jiva and Ishvara is explained. Khetra, khetragya. This khetragya has been explained that the Lord is also khetragya or conscious, and the jivas or the living beings, they are also conscious. But the difference is that a living being is conscious within his limited body, but the Lord is conscious of all bodies. Ishara sarvabhutanam hridesha arjuna tishthati. The Lord lives within the core of heart in every living being. Therefore, he is conscious of the psychic movements, activities of the Lord, of the particular jiva. We should not forget. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller. And he is giving direction. He is giving direction. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishya. Oh, everyone's heart, he is situated, and he gives direction to act as he desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes his determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the actions and reactions of his own karma. But after giving up one type of body, when he enters another type of body, just like we give up one kind of dress, one type of dress for another type of dress. Similarly, it is explained in this Bhagavad Gita that Vasangsi Jinnani Jatha Vihaya, one as one changes his different dresses. Similarly, the living entities, they are also changing different bodies, transmigration of the soul, and pulling on the actions and reactions of his past activities. So, these activities can be changed when a living being is in the mode of goodness, in sanity, and he understands what sort of activities he should adopt. And if he does so, then the whole action and reactions of his past activities can be changed. Therefore, karma is not eternal. Other things out of the five items, Ishara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma, these four items are eternal, whereas the karma, the item known as karma, that is not eternal. Now, the conscious Ishara, the supreme conscious Ishara, and the difference between uh, supreme conscious Ishara, the Lord, and the living being is, in the present circumstances, is like this. Consciousness, consciousness of both of the Lord and and the living entities, they are this consciousness is transcendent. It is not that this consciousness is generated uh, by the association of this matter. Uh, that is a mistaken idea. The theory that consciousness develops under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita. It cannot be. Uh, Consciousness may be perfectly reflected by the uh, cover of material circumstances, just like light reflected through a colored glass may seem uh, according to the color. Similarly, the consciousness of Lord, uh, it is not materially affected. The Supreme Lord, just like Krishna, where he says that Maya Dhakkena Prakriti, when he descends in this material world, his consciousness is not materially affected. Had his consciousness been materially affected, he was unfit to speak about the transcendental subject matter in the Bhagavad Gita. One cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from the materially contaminated consciousness. So the Lord was not materially contaminated, uh, but and our consciousness at the present moments is materially contaminated. So whole thing, as the Bhagavad Gita teaches, we have to purify the materially contaminated consciousness. And in that pure consciousness, the actions will be done that will make us happy. We cannot stop. We cannot stop our activity. the activities are to be purified. And these purified activities are called bhakti. Bhakti means they appear also just like ordinary activity, but they are not contaminated activities. They're purified activities. So an ignorant person may see that a devotee is working like an ordinary man, but a person with forefront of knowledge, he does not know that the activities of a devotee or the activities of the Lord, they are not contaminated by the impure consciousness of matter, the impurity of the three gunas, modes of nature, uh, a transcendental consciousness. So, our consciousness is materially contaminated, we should know. Now, uh, when we are such materially contaminated, that is called our continent stage. And the false ego, the false consciousness, the false consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am one of the product of this material nature. That is called false ego. The whole material activities, jasatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke, jasatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke. One who is absorbed in the thought of bodily conception. Now, the whole Bhagavad Gita was explained by the Lord because Arjuna represented himself with bodily conception. So, one has to get free from the bodily conception of life. That is the preliminary activity for a transcendentalist who wants to get free, who wants to be liberated. He has to learn, first of all, that he is not this material body. So, this consciousness, a material consciousness, when we are freed from this material consciousness, that is called mukti. Mukti or liberation means to become free from material consciousness. In the Srimad Bhagavat also, the definition of liberation is said, uh, um, mukti hitva annatha rupam sarupena avastiti. Sarupena avastiti. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of this material world and to become situated in pure consciousness. And the whole instruction of Bhagavad Gita is targeted to awaken that pure consciousness. We'll find in the last stage of the instruction of Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness, whether he was in purified consciousness. The purified consciousness is to act according to the direction of the Lord. That is purified consciousness. That is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there, but because we are part and parcels, therefore we are affected. There is affinity of being affected by the material modes. But the Lord being supreme, he is never affected. He is never affected. Uh, that is the difference between the Lord and the supreme Lord and the. Now, this consciousness is, what is this consciousness? This consciousness is that I am, what I am. When in contaminated consciousness, this I am means that I am the Lord of all I serve it. This is impure consciousness. And I am the enjoyer. The whole material world is moving, that every living being is thinking that I am the Lord and I am the creator of this material world. Uh, the consciousness has got two psychic movement or two psychic division. One is that I am the creator and the other is I am the enjoyer. So the Supreme Lord is actually the creator and he is actually the enjoyer. And the living entities, being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, he is not actually the creator or the enjoyer, but he is a cooperator. Just like the whole machine, the part of the machine is the cooperator, is the cooperator. Or if we can study just the constitution of our body. Now, in the body, there are hands, there are legs, there are eyes, and all these instruments working. But all these parts and parcels of the body, they are not enjoyer. The stomach is the enjoyer. The leg is moving from one place to another. The hand is collecting. The hand is preparing food stuff. And the teeth is chewing. And everything, all parts of body are engaged in satisfying the stomach. Because the stomach is the principal and fact within the organization of this body. And everything should be given to the stomach. Pranopaharat jathindriyana. Just like you can see a tree green by pouring water in the root, or you can become healthy. The parts of the body, the hand, the leg, the eyes, the ears, the fingers, everything keeps in healthy stage when the parts of the body cooperate with the stomach. Similarly, the supreme living being, the Lord, he is the enjoyer. He is the enjoyer. And he is the creator. And we, subordinate living beings, well, the products of the energy of the Supreme Lord, we are just to cooperate with him. That cooperation will help. Just for example, a good food stuff taken by the fingers, if the fingers think that why should we give it to the stomach? Let us enjoy. That is a mistake. The fingers are unable to enjoy. If fingers want the fruit of enjoyment of that particular foodstuff, the fingers must put it into the stomach. That the whole arrangement is that the central figure of creation, a central figure of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord. And the living entities, they are simply cooperate. By cooperation they enjoy. The relation is just like the master and the servant. If the master is satisfied, is the master is fully satisfied, the servants are automatically satisfied. Uh, that is the law. Similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied, although the tendency for becoming a creator and the tendency to enjoy this material world is they are also in the living entities because it is there in the Supreme Lord. He has created. He has created the manifested cosmic world. Therefore, we shall find in this Bhagavad Gita that the complete whole comprising the supreme controller, the controlled living entities, the cosmic manifestation, the eternal time, and the activities, all of them are completely explained. So, the whole thing taking together completely is called the absolute truth. The complete whole or the supreme absolute truth is therefore the complete personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. As we have explained, that the manifestations are due to his different energies, and he is the complete whole. The impersonal Brahman is explained in the Bhagavad Gita that impersonal Brahma is also subordinate to the complete person. Brahmanaham pratishtha. Impersonal Brahma is also, it is the impersonal Brahma is more explicitly explained in the Brahma Sutra as the rays, as there is the rays of the sunshine, sun planet. Similarly, the impersonal Brahma is the shining rays of the Supreme Brahma or the Supreme Personality of God. Therefore, impersonal Brahma is incomplete realization of the absolute complete whole, and so also the conception of Paramatma. These things are also explained. Purushottam Jo, when we shall read the chapter of Purushottam Jo, it will be seen that the Supreme Personality, Purushottam, is above the impersonal Brahma and partial realization of Paramatma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Satchidananda Vigraha. In the Brahma Samhita, the beginning is started like this. Ishara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Radi Govinda Sarvakarana Karana. Govinda, Krishna, is the cause of all causes, is the prime Lord. So, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satchidananda Vigraha. Impersonal Brahman realization is the realization of his Sat part, eternity. And Paramatma realization is the realization of Satchit, eternal knowledge, part realization. But realization of the personality of Godhead as Krishna is realization of all the transcendental features like Sat, Chit, and Ananda in complete Vigraha. Vigraha means form. Ah, Vigraha means form. Hmm. Abhaktam bhaktimapannam mannati mavabuddhaya. Oh. Uh, People with less intelligence, they consider the supreme truth as impartial, but he is a person, is transcendental person. This is confirmed in all Vedic literature. Nitya, Nityanam, Chetana, Chetananam. So, as we are also persons, individual living beings, we are persons, we have got our individuality. We are all similarly, the supreme truth, the supreme absolute is also the ultimate issue. He is a person, but realization of the personhood of Godhead is realization of all the transcendental features like Sat, Chit, and Ananda in complete Vigraha. Vigraha means form. Therefore, the complete whole is not formless. If he is formless, or if he is less in any other thing, he cannot be complete whole. The complete whole must have everything within our experience and beyond our experience. Otherwise, he cannot be complete. The complete whole personality of Godhead has immense potencies. Uh, Prasa Shakti Vividhaiva Suyate. That is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Uh, how he is acting in different potencies. This phenomenal world, or the material world, where we are now put, is also complete by itself because Purnamidam, the 24 elements of which, according to Sankhya philosophy, the 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation, are completely adjusted to produce complete things which are necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of this universe. No extraneous effort by any other unit is required for the maintenance of the universe. Is at its own time fixed up by the energy of the complete whole, and when the time is complete, these temporary manifestations will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete. There is complete facility for the small complete units, namely the living entities, to realize the complete. And all sorts of incompleteness is experienced on account of incomplete knowledge of the complete. So, the Bhagavad Gita is the complete knowledge of the Vedic wisdom. Uh, the whole Vedic knowledge is infallible. There, there are different examples how we take Vedic knowledge as infallible. And take, for example, so far the Hindus are concerned and how they accept the Vedic knowledge as complete. Uh, Here is an insignificant example. Just like the cow dung. The cow dung is the stool of an animal. Uh, According to Smriti or Vedic wisdom, if one touches the stool of an animal, he has to take his bath to purify himself. But in the Vedic scriptures, the cow dung is stated as pure. rather impure place or impure things are purified by touch of the cow dung. Now, if one argues how it is that in one place it is said that the stool of the animal is impure, in another place it is said that the cow dung, which is also the stool of an animal, it is pure. So it is contradictory. But actually, it may appear to be contradictory, but because it is Vedic injunction, and therefore, for our practical purposes, we accept it. And by that acceptance, we are not committing mistake. It has been found by modern chemists, modern science. One doctor, Lal Mohan Ghosal, he has very minutely analyzed the cow dung, and he has found the cow dung is a composition of all antiseptic properties. Uh, similarly, he has also analyzed the water of the Ganges out of curiosity. So, my idea is that Vedic knowledge is complete because it is above all doubts and all mistakes. Uh, and Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is therefore infallible. It comes down to the perfect disciplic succession. Therefore, Vedic knowledge is not a thing of research. Our research work is imperfect because we are searching everything with imperfect senses. Therefore, the result of our research work is also imperfect. It cannot be perfect. Uh, we have to accept the perfect knowledge. The perfect knowledge is coming down, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Just we have begun. Uh, Evam parampara praptam imang rajul. We have to uh, receive the knowledge from the right source in a disciplic succession of spiritual master, beginning from the Lord Himself. Uh, the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Lord Himself, and Arjuna, I mean to say, the student who took lessons of the Bhagavad Gita, he accepted the whole story as it is, without any cutting. Uh, that is also not allowed, that we accept a certain portion of Bhagavad Gita and reject another portion. That is also not accepted. We must accept the Bhagavad Gita without interpretation, without any cutting, and without our own whimsical participation in the matter, because it should be taken as the most perfect Vedic knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is received from the transcendental sources because the first word was spoken by the Lord Himself. The word spoken by the Lord is called apourusia, or not delivered by any person of the mundane world who is infected with four principles of imperfectness. A living being of the mundane world has four defective principles of his life, and they are: one, that he must commit mistake; two, he must be sometimes illusion; and three, he must try to cheat others; and four, he is endowed with imperfect senses. With all these four principles of imperfectness, one cannot deliver the perfect form of information in the matter of all-pervading knowledge. The Vedas are not like that. The Vedic knowledge was imparted in the heart of Brahma, the first created living being, and Brahma, in his turn, disseminated the knowledge to his sons and disciples as they originally received from the Lord. The Lord being Purnam, or all perfect, there is no chance of his becoming subjected to the laws of material nature. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except the Lord, nobody is the proprietor of anything within the universe. That is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhu, matta sarvam pravartati, iti matya bhajanti mam, buddha bhavo samannita. The Lord is the original creator. He is the creator of Brahma. He is the creator, that is also explained. He is the creator of Brahma. In the 11th chapter, the Lord is addressed as Prapitama, because Brahma is addressed as Pitamaha, the grandfather. But he is the creator of the grandfather also. So, nobody should claim to be the proprietor of anything, but he must accept things which are set aside by the Lord as his quota of maintenance. Now, there are many examples how we have to utilize the allotment of the Lord. That is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. The Arjuna, he decided in the beginning that he should not fight. That was his own contemplation. Arjuna said to the Lord that it was not possible for him to enjoy the kingdom after killing his own kinsman. And that point of view was due to his conception of the body, because he was thinking that the body was himself, and the body, the relatives, his brother, his nephews, his father-in-law, or his grandfather, they were expansion of his body, and he was thinking in that way to satisfy his bodily demands. And the whole thing was spoken by the Lord just to change the view, and he agreed to work under the direction of the Lord, and he said, Korisi bachanang tava. Therefore, in this world, the human being is not meant for quarreling like the cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance of the human life and refuse and to act like ordinary animal. A human being should realize the aim of human life. This direction is given in all the Vedic literature, and the essence is given in the Bhagavad Gita. The Vedic literature are meant for the human being and not for the cats and dogs. The cats and dogs can kill their eatable animals, and for that there is no question of sin or their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste, he must be responsible for breaking the laws of nature. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that there are three kinds of activities according to the different modes of nature. The activities of goodness, the activities of passion, the activities of ignorance. Similarly, there are three kinds of eatables also. uh, Eatables in goodness, eatables on passion, eatables on ignorance. They're all clearly described. And if we properly utilize the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, then our whole life will become purified, and ultimately we shall able to reach the destination. Jadgatyana nivartanti tadhama paramang mama. That information is given in the Bhagavad Gita. That beyond this spiritual material sky, there is another spiritual sky that is called Sanatana sky. In this sky, this covered sky, we find everything temporary. It is manifested. It stays for some time, gives us some byproduct, and then it becomes dwindling and then vanishes. That is the law of this material world. You take this body, you take a fruit or anything, what is created here, it has got its annihilation at the end. So, uh, beyond this temporary world, there is another world for which the information is there. The parastasmatu bhava anya. There is another nature which is eternal, sanat, which is eternal. And the jiva, jiva is also described as sanatan. Mami jiva bhuta jiva the sanatan. Sanatan. Sanatan means eternal. And the Lord is also described as Sanatan in the 11th chapter. So, uh, because we have got intimate relation with the Lord, and mm, and we are all qualitatively one. The Sanatan Dham and the Sanatan Supreme Personality and the Sanatan living entities, they are on the same qualitatively plane. Therefore, the whole target of Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatan occupation. Sanatan, that is called Sanatan Dharma, or eternal occupation of the living entity. We are now temporarily engaged in different activity, and all these activities being purified. When we give up all these temporary activities, sarva dharman parityajya, and when we take up the activity as deserved by the Supreme Lord, that is called our pure life. Therefore, Sanatana Dharma, as mentioned above, that the Supreme Lord is Sanatan and the transcendental abode, which is beyond the spiritual sky, that is also Sanatan. And the living entities, they are also Sanatan. So, association of the Sanatan Supreme Lord, Sanatan living entities in the Sanatan eternal abode is the ultimate aim of human form of life. The Lord is so kind upon the living entities because the living entities have claimed to be all sons of the Supreme Lord. The Lord declares, Sarvajonishu Kaunteya Sambhavanti Murtayoja. Every type of living entity, there are different types of living entities according to their different karma. But the Lord claims that He is the Father of all living entities. And therefore, the Lord descends to reclaim all these forgotten, conditioned souls back to the Sanatana Dham, the Sanatana sky, so that the Sanatana living entity may again reinstall in a Sanatana position, in eternal association of the Lord. He comes himself by different incarnations. He sends his confidential servitor as sons or associate or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls, and therefore Sanatana Dharma does not mean any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. Now, so far Sanatana Dharma is concerned, it means the eternal occupation. Sripad Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatana as the thing which has neither any beginning nor any end. And when we speak of Sanatana Dharma, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya that it has no beginning nor any end. The, the word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith. Faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process, and he may change the faith afterwards and adopt another faith. But Sanatana Dharma means it cannot be changed. It cannot be changed. Just like the water and liquidity. Liquidity cannot be changed from water. Heat and fire. Heat cannot be changed from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity, which is known as Sanatana Dharma, cannot be changed. It is not possible to change. We have to find out what is that eternal function of the eternal living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujarya that it has no beginning nor any end. The thing which has no end, no beginning, must not be any sectarian thing or limited by any boundary. When you hold on the conference on the Sanatana Dharma, people belonging to some of the non-eternal religious faith may wrongly consider it that we are dealing in some sectarian thing. But if we go deep into the matter and take everything in the light of modern science, it will be possible for us to see Sanatana Dharma as the business of all the people of the world, nay, all the living entities of the universe. Non-Sanatan religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of the human society, but there cannot be any history of the Sanatana Dharma because it contains to remain with the history of the living entities. So far, living entities are concerned, we find it from the authority of the Shastras that the living entities have also no birth or death. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that the living entity is never born, nor does it ever die. It is eternal, indestructible, and continues to live after the destruction of his temporary material body. With reference to the above concept of Sanatana Dharma, we may try to understand the concept of religion. From the Sanskrit root meaning of the word dharma, it means that which is constantly with the particular object. As we have already mentioned, when you speak of fire, it is concluded at the same time that there is heat and light along with the fire. Without heat and without light, there is no meaning of the word fire. Similarly, we must find out the essential part of a living being which is always companion with him. That part of constant companion of the living being is his eternal quality, and the eternal part of the living being's quality is his eternal religion. When Sanatana Goswami asked Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Sarup, we have already discussed about the Sarup of every living being. Sarup, or real constitution of the living being, the Lord replied that the constitutional position of the living being is to render service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if we analyze this part of the statement of Lord Chaitanya, we can very well see that every living being is constantly engaged in the business of rendering service to another living being. A living being serves another living being in different capacities, and by doing so, the living entity enjoys life. A lower animal serves a human being, a servant serves his master, A serves B master, B serves C master, and C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that a friend serves another friend, and the mother serves the son, or the wife serves the husband, or husband serves the wife. If we go on searching in that spirit, it will be seen that there is no exception in the society of the living being where we do not find the activity of service. The politician presents his manifesto before the public and convinces voters about his service capacity. The voter also gives the politician his valuable vote on expectation that the politician will give service to the society. The shopkeeper serves the customer, and the artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves his family, and the family serves the headman in terms of the eternal capacity of eternal being. In this way, we can see no living being is exempted from the practice of rendering service to other living being, and therefore we can conclude that service is a thing which is the constant companion of the living being, and therefore it may be safely concluded that rendering of service by a living being is the eternal religion of the living being. When a man professes to belong to a particular type of faith with reference to the particular time and circumstances of birth, and thus one claims to be a Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect and a subsect, such designations are non-Sanatana Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu or a Christian, etc. But in all circumstances, such change of religious faith does not allow a person to change his eternal engagement of rendering service to others. A Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian, in all circumstances, he is servant of somebody, and thus to profess a particular type of faith is not to be considered as Sanatana Dharma, but the constant companion of the living being, that is rendering of service, is the Sanatana Dharma. So, factually, we are related in the service relationship with the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the uh, supreme enjoyer, and we, living entities, are eternally His supreme servitors. We are created for His enjoyment. Uh, and if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that makes us happy, not otherwise. Independently, as I have already explained, that independently, any part of the body, the hand, the feet, the fingers, or any part of the body, independently cannot be happy without cooperation with the stomach. Similarly, the living entity can never be happy uh, uh, without rendering his transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, the worship of different demigods is not approved. It's not approved because uh, it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 20th verse. The Lord says, Kamastastha hitagyanah prapaddante annadevataha Kamasthasta hitagyan. Those who are drifted by lust, only they worship the demigods other than the Supreme Lord, Krishna. We also may remember that when I speak of Krishna, uh, it is not a sectarian name. The Krishna name means the highest pleasure. It is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is the reservoir, is the storehouse of all pleasure. We are all hankering after pleasure. Anandamaya abhyasat. The living entities or the Lord, because we are full of consciousness, therefore, our consciousness is after happiness. Or happiness. The Lord is also perpetually happy. And if we associate with the Lord, cooperate with Him, take part in His association, then also we become happy. The Lord descends on this mortal world to show His pastime in Vrindavan, full of happiness. When Lord Sri Krishna was in Vrindavan, his activities with his cowherd boys friend, with his damsels, with his damsel friends, and with the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and his occupation of cow herding in his childhood, and all these pastimes of Lord Krishna was full of happiness. The whole of Vrindavan, the whole population of Vrindavan was after him. They did not know uh, except Krishna. Even Lord Krishna uh, mm, restricted his father, Nanda Maharaj, in worshipping the demigod Indra, because he wanted to establish that people need not worship any other demigod except the Supreme Personality of God. Because the ultimate aim of life is to return to the abode of the Supreme Lord. The abode of uh, Lord Krishna is described in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 6th verse. Natad bhasayati surya, na sasanka, na pavakaha, jadgatya, na nivartanti, tadhyamam paramam mama. Now, the description of that eternal sky, when we speak of sky, because we have material conception of the sky, therefore we think of the sky with sun, moon, stars like that. But the Lord says that the eternal sky, there is no need of sun. Natad bhasayati surya, no sashanka, no pavaka. Neither in that eternal sky there is need of moon, no pavaka, Means neither there is necessity of electricity or fire for illuminating, because the spiritual sky is already illuminated by the Brahma Jyoti, Yasya Prabha, the rays of the Supreme above. Now, in these days, when people are trying to reach other planets, it is not very difficult to understand the abode of the Supreme Lord. The abode of the Supreme Lord is in the spiritual sky, and it is named as Golaka. In the Brahma Samhita, it is very nicely described. Goloko eva nivasati akhilatma bhuta. The Lord, although resides eternally in his abode, Goloka, still he is akhilatma bhuta. He can be approached from here also. And the Lord therefore comes to manifest his real form, Satchidananda Vigraha, so that we may not have to imagine. There is no question of imagination. The Lord's presence, by his causeless mercy, he presents himself in his Shyama Sundar. Unfortunately, people with less intelligence deride at him. Avajananti mangamudha. Because the Lord comes as one of us and just like plays with us as a human being. Therefore, we need not consider that Lord is one of us. It is his omnipotency that he presents himself with his real form before us and displays his pastimes, just the prototype of his abode. So that abode of Lord, there are innumerable planets also in that Brahma Jyoti, just like we have got innumerable planets floating on the sun rays. Similarly, in the Brahma Jyoti, which is emanating from the abode of the Supreme Lord, Krishna Loka, Goloka, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitaabhi. All those planets are spiritual planets. They are Ananda Chinmaya. They are not material planets. So, the Lord says, Natat bhasayati sujja, na sasanka na pav, jadgatyana nivartante, tadhama paramahama. Now, anyone who can approach that spiritual sky will not be required to come back again in this material sky. So long we are in the material sky, what to speak of approaching the moon planet? The moon planet, of course, is the nearest planet. But even we approach the highest planet, which is called Brahmaloka, there also we have the same miseries of material life. I mean to say, the miseries of birth, death, old age, and diseases. Uh, No planets in the material universe is free from the four principles of material existence. The Lord therefore says in the Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma bhuvanan lokan punaravartinarjo. Living entities are traveling from one planet to another. It is not that we can simply go to other planets by the mechanical arrangement of the Sputnik. Anyone who desires to go to other planet, there is process. Janti deva brata diman pitrim janti pitribrataha. If anyone wants to go to any other planet, say moon planet, we need not try to go by the Sputnik. The Bhagavad Gita in the steps are Janti Devabrata Devan. These moon planets or sun planets or the planets above these Bhuloka, they are called Sarvaloka. Sarvaloka, Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Sarvaloka. They are different status of planets. So, Devaloka, they are known just like that. The Bhagavad Gita gives a very simple formula that you can go to the higher planets, Devaloka, Janti Deva Brata Deva. Ah. Janti Deva Brata Deva. Deva Brata, if we practice the process of worshipping the particular demigod, then we can go to that particular planet also. We can go to the sun planet, we can go to the moon planet, we can go to the heavenly planet. But Bhagavad Gita does not advise us to go to any one of these planets in the material world. Because even we go to the Brahmaloka, the highest planet, which is calculated by the modern scientist, that we can reach the highest planet by traveling with Sputniks for 40,000 of years. Now, it is not possible to live 40,000 of years and reach the highest planet of this material universe. But if one devotes his life in the worshipment of the particular demigod, he can approach the particular planet, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Janti deva brata deva. Pitrin janti pitri brataha. Similarly, there is pitri lok. Similarly, one who likes to approach the supreme planet. Supreme planet. The supreme planet means the Krishna Loka. In the spiritual sky, there are innumerable planets. Sanatana planets, eternal planets, which are never destroyed, annihilated. But of all those spiritual planets, there is one planet, the original planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavan. So these informations are there in the Bhagavad Gita, and we are given the opportunity for living this material world and get our eternal life and in the eternal kingdom. Now, in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the real picture of this material world is given. It is said there that Uddhamulam madhu shakham sattang prahurabbayam chandangsi yasaparnani jastang veda savedavid. Now, this material world is described in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as a tree which has got its root upwards. Urdhvamulam. Right. Have you experienced of any tree which has its root upwards? We have got this experience of a tree root upwards by reflection. If we stand on the bank of a river or any reservoir of water, we can see that the tree on the bank of the reservoir of water is reflected in the water as drunk downwards and the root upwards. So this material world is practically a reflection of the spiritual world, just like the reflection of the tree on the bank of a reservoir of water is seen downwards. Similarly, this material world, it is called shadow. Shadow. And as is in the shadow, there cannot be any reality. But at the same time, from the shadow, we can understand that there is reality. The example of shadow in the shadow of water in the desert suggests that in the desert there is no water, but there is water. Similarly, in the reflection of the spiritual world or in this material world, there is undoubtedly, there is no happiness, there is no water. But the real water or the actual happiness is in the spiritual world. The Lord suggests that that one has to reach that spiritual world in the following manner. Nirmana moha jita sangadosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dandai vimuktya sukadukha sangai gacchantya mudha padamabhayam. That padamabhayam, that eternal kingdom, can be reached by one who is nirmana moha. Nirmana moha. Nirmana means we are after designations. Artificially, we want some designation. Oh, somebody wants to become son. Somebody wants to become Lord. Somebody wants to become the president. Or somebody wants to become a rich man. Somebody wants to become something else, king. All these designation, so long we'll have attachment for all these designation. Because after all, these designation belong to the body. And we are not this body. This is the first conception of spiritual realization. So one has no attraction for designation and jita sanga dosha. Sanga dosha. Now we are associated with the three modes of material qualities. And if we become detached by devotional service of the Lord, so long we are not attracted by devotional service of the Lord, we cannot be detached from the three modes of material nature. Therefore, the Lord says, Vinivirta kama. These designations and these attachments are due to our lust, desire. We want to lord it over the material nature. Oh. So long we do not give up this propensity of lording it over the material nature. Uh, Up to that time, there is no possibility of going back to the kingdom of the Supreme, the Sanatana Dharma. Dandai vimukta sukha sangai gachanti amura. Amura padamabhyanta. That eternal kingdom, which is never destructible, like this material world, can be approached by amura. Amura means non-bewildered, one who is not bewildered by the attraction of this false enjoyment. And one is situated in the supreme service of the Lord. He is the right person to approach that eternal kingdom. And that eternal kingdom does not require any sun, any moon, or any electricity. That is the glimpse idea of approaching or mm, of the eternal kingdom. In another place of the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that Abbakta Akkhara Ityukta Samahu Paramam Gati Jang Prapana Nivartanti Tadhama Parlo. Abbakta means non-manifested. Even the part of material world is not manifested before us. Our senses are so imperfect that we cannot see how many stars, how many planets there are in this material universe. Of course, through the Vedic literature, we get information of all the planets. We may believe or not believe, but all the important planets in which we have connection. They are described in Vedic literature, especially in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But the spiritual world, which is beyond this material sky, parastasmatsu bhavo anya, but that abhakta, that not manifested spiritual God, is the paramangate. That is, one should desire, one should hanker after reaching that supreme kingdom. And once approaching that supreme kingdom, jang prapta, one approaching or one achieving that supreme kingdom, non-nivartanti, one hasn't got to return back to this material world. And that place, which is the eternal abode of Lord, that from where we haven't got to return, that should be our. Now, a question may be raised. What is the way, how to approach the supreme abode of the Lord? That is also described in the Bhagavad Gita. It is said on the 8th chapter, verses 5, 6, 7, 8, the process of approaching the Supreme Lord or Supreme Lord's abode is also given there. It is said like this: Antakale chamamiva smaran muktya kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastatra sangsaya. Antakale, at the end of life, at the time of death, antakale cha mameva, one who thinks of Krishna, smaran, if he can remember, a dying person at the time of death, if he remembers the form of Krishna, and while remembering in that way, if he quits the present body, then surely he approaches the spiritual kingdom, madbhavam. Bhavam means the spiritual, the nature. Japrayati sa madbhavam yati. Madbhavam means just like the nature of the transcendental nature of the Supreme Being. As you have described above, that the Supreme Lord is Sachidananda Vigraha. He has his form, but his form is eternal, Sat, and full of knowledge, Chit, and full of bliss, Ananda. Now just we can compare our present body, whether this body is Sachidananda. No. This body is Asat. Instead of being Sat, it is Asat. Antavattum ime deha, Bhagavad Gita says that this body is antavat, perishable, and uh, Sat Chit Ananda. Then instead of becoming Sat, it is Asat, just the opposite. And instead of becoming Chit, full of knowledge, it is full of ignorance. We have no knowledge of the spiritual kingdom. Neither we have got any perfect knowledge of this material world. So many things unknown to us. Therefore, this body is ignorant. Instead of becoming full of knowledge, it is ignorant. The body is perishable, full of ignorance, and nirananda. Instead of becoming full of bliss, it is full of miseries. All the miseries that we experience in this material world, it is all due to this body. The Lord says that antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram. One who quits this material body simply by remembering Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he at once gets the spiritual body of Satchidananda Vigraha. The process of quitting this body and getting another body in the material world is also organized. A man dies after it has been decided what form of body he will have in the next life. But that is decided by higher authorities. Just like according to our service, we are promoted or degraded. Similarly, according to our acts, we are acts of this life. The activities of this life are preparation ground for the next life. We are preparing for our next life by our activities of this life. So, if we can prepare our this life for getting promotion to the kingdom of God, then surely after living, after quitting this material body, the Lord says, Japrayati, one who goes, sa madhabhava jati. Madhabhava, he gets the same spiritual body as the Lord has, or the same spiritual nature. Now, there are different kinds of transcendentalists, as we have already explained above. The Brahmavadi, the Paramatmavadi, and the devotees. In spiritual sky, or in the Brahma Jyoti, there are spiritual planets, innumerable spiritual planets. We have already discussed. And the number of those planets are far, far greater than all the universes of this material world. This material world is ekangsena situ jagat. This is 1/4 part manifestation of the whole creation. 3/4 part of the creation is the spiritual world. And in the 1/4 part of this creation, there are millions of universes like this, which we are experiencing at the present moment. And in one universe, there are millions and billions of planets. So there are millions and billions of suns and stars and moons in all this material world. But all these material are constitute only 1/4 manifestation of the whole creation. The 3/4 manifestation is in the spiritual sky. Now, this Mother Bhava, one who desires to merge into the existence of the Supreme Brahman, they merge in the Brahma Jyoti of the Supreme Lord. Madhbhava means that Brahma Jyoti as well as the spiritual planets in the Brahma Jyoti. And the devotees who want to enjoy the association of the Lord, they enter into the planets, Vaikuntha planets. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets. And the Lord, Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, by his plenary expansion as Narayan with 4 hands, with different names, Padmana, Anuruddha, and Madhav, Govinda. There are many innumerable names of these 400 Narayan. So one of the planets, that is also Madhav. That is also within the spiritual nature. So any transcendentalist who at the end of life, either he thinks of the Brahma Jyoti or meditates upon the Paramatma or thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In either case, they enter into the spiritual sky, but only the devotees, those who have practiced personal touch with the Supreme Lord, they enter into the Vaikuntha planets or in the Golok Vrindavan planet. The Lord says, Japyati sa madbhavam yati na asti atra samsaya. There is no doubt. One should not disbelieve. That is the question. So you are reading Bhagavad Gita throughout the whole life. But when the Lord speaks something which does not tally with our imagination, we reject it. That is not the process of Bhagavad Gita reading. Just like Arjuna said, the Sarvavetam Ritam Manne, I believe in everything, whatever you have said. Similarly, hearing, the Lord says that at the time of death, whoever thinks of him, either as Brahma or Paramatma or the personality of Godhead, certainly he enters into the spiritual sky. And there is no doubt about it. One should not disbelieve it. And the process is, general rule is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita, how one can, how it is possible to get into the spiritual kingdom simply by thinking of the Supreme at the time of death. Because the general process is also mentioned. Yang yang apapi smarana bhavam tajatanti kalevaram tang tameva aiti konteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. The, there are different bhavas. Now, this material nature is also one of the bhavas, as you have already explained. That this material nature is also the display of one of the energies of the Supreme Lord. And in the Vishnu Puran, the total energies of the Supreme Lord has been summarized. Vishnu Shakti Parabhokta Khitrugyakhya Tatha Para Avidya Karmasanga Anya Titya Sakrishyati. All the energies, potencies of the Parasa Sakti Vivida Yusyate, the Supreme Lord has diverse energies, innumerable energies, which he cannot conceive. But great learned sages, liberated souls, they have studied and they have summarized the whole energies into three parts, into three headings. The first is all the energies are uh, Vishnu Shakti. All the energies, the different potencies of the Lord Vishnu. Now, that energy is para, transcendental, and Kshetrajna tatha para. And the living entities, Kshetrajna, they are also belonging to the group of that superior energy, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita also. We have already explained. And the other energies, the material energy, is Titya Karmasanga Anya. The other energy is in the mode of ignorance. That is material energy. So, material energy is also Bhagavad Bhav. So, at the time of death, either we can remain in the material energy or this material world, or we can transfer into the spiritual world. That is the criterion. So, the Bhagavad Gita says, Jang jang vapi smarana bhavam tajattante kalivaram tang tameva aiti kaunteya sada tadabhava bhav. Now, as we are accustomed to think either of this material energy or of the spiritual energy. Now, how to transfer the thinking of the material energy, how it can be transferred into into thinking of the spiritual energy. So, for thinking in the spiritual energy, the Vedic literatures are there. Just like thinking in the material energies, there are so many literatures, newspapers, magazines, novels, fictions, and so many things, full of literature. So our thinking are absorbed in these literatures. Similarly, if we want to transfer our thinking in the spiritual atmosphere, then we have to transfer our reading capacity to the Vedic literature. The uh, learned sages, therefore, made so many Vedic literatures, the Puranas. The Puranas are not stories, they are historical records. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a verse which reads as follows: Anadi Bohinmukh Jeev Krishna Bhuli Gela Ataev Krishna Ved Purana Korila. That this forgetful living entities, conditioned souls, they have forgotten the relationship with the Supreme Lord, and they are engrossed in thinking of the material activities. And just to transfer their thinking power to the spiritual capacity, the Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, he has made so many Vedic literatures. Vedic literatures means first he divided the Vedas into four, then he explained them by the Puranas, then for the incapable persons, just like Sri Shudra Vaishya, he made the Mahabharata, and in the Mahabharata, he introduced this Bhagavad Gita. Then again, he summarized the whole Vedic literature in the Vedanta Sutra, and the Vedanta Sutra for future guidance. He made a natural commentation by himself, which is called Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is called Bhasayam Brahma Sutranam. It is the natural commentation of Vedanta Sutra. So all these literatures, if we transfer our thought, tadabhava bhavita, sada tadabhava bhavita, one who is engaged always, just like the materialist is always engaged in reading some material literature, like newspaper, magazines, and fiction, novel, etc., and so many scientific or philosophy, all these things of different degrees of thought. Similarly, if we transfer that reading capacity for these Vedic literatures as presented by, as very kindly presented by Vyasdev, then it is quite possible for us to remember at the time of death the Supreme Law. That is the only way suggested by the Lord himself, not suggested in the fact. Nasti atra samsaya. Undoubtedly, There is no doubt about it. Tasma, the Lord suggests therefore, Tasma sarvesu kalesu mamanusmara jiddhasa. He advises Arjuna that mam anusmara juddhas. He does not say that you simply go on remembering me and give up your present occupational duty. No, that is not suggested. The Lord never suggests something impractical. This material world, to maintain this body, one has to work. The work is divided into 4 divisions of social order: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. The intelligent class of the society, they are working in a different way. And the administrator class of society, they are also working in a different way. The mercantile society, the productive society, they are also working in a different way. And the laborer class, they are also working in different way. And the human society, either as laborer or as mercantile men or as politicians, administrators, or as the highest class of intelligent class of men in literary career, scientific researches, everybody is engaged in some work. And one has to work, struggle for existence. The Lord advises that you need not give up your occupation, but at the same time, you can remember Mamanusmara. That will make you, that will help you in remembering me at the time of death. If you don't practice remembering me always, along with your struggle for existence, then it is not possible. It is not possible. The same thing is advised by Lord Chaitanya. Kirtanya Sadahari. Kirtanya Sadahari. One should practice to chant the name of the Lord. Always. The name of Lord and the Lord is not different. So here, the instruction of Lord Krishna to Arjuna that Map Anusmara, you just remember me. And Lord Chaitanya's instruction that you chant always the name of Krishna. Yet Krishna says that you always remember me or you remember Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya says you always chant the name of Krishna. So there is no difference. Because Krishna and Krishna's name are non-different in the absolute. In the absolute status, there is no difference between one thing and another. That is the absolute state. The Lord being absolute, there is no difference between his name and himself. So we have to practice like that. Tasma sarvesu kalesu. Always, 24 hours, we have to mold our activities of life in such a way that we can remember 24 hours. How it is possible? Yes, it is possible. It is possible. A very crude example is set by the acharyas in this connection. And what is that example? It is said that a woman who is attached to another man, although she has got a husband, still he is attached to another man. And this of attachment becomes very strong. This is called parokyaros, either in case of man or woman. If a man has got attachment for another woman besides his wife, or a woman has got attachment for another man besides his husband, that attachment is very strong. That attachment is very strong. So the acharyas give this example as a bad character woman who has got attachment for other husband. Uh, she always thinks at the same time, shows her husband that she is very much busy in the family affairs, so that her husband may not doubt her character. So, as she is always remembering the time of meeting with her lover at night, in spite of doing all this household work very nicely, similarly, one has to remember the Supreme Husband, Sri Krishna. Always, in spite of doing his material duties very nicely. That is possible. It requires a, a stern, a strong sense of love. When you have got a strong sense of love for the Supreme Lord, then it is possible that we can go on discharging our duty at the same time remember the Lord. So we have to develop that sense. Just like Arjuna was always thinking of Lord. He, out of 24 hours, not for a second, he could forget Krishna. Constant companion of Krishna. At the same time, a warrior. Lord Krishna did not advise Arjuna to give up his fighting, go to the forest, go to the Himalaya and meditate. When yoga system was advised to Arjuna, Arjuna declined that this system is not possible for me. Then the Lord said, Yoginamapi sarvesam madgata antaratmana madgatina antaratmana saddhavan bhajate jumahu samejukta tamohataha. So one who thinks of the Supreme Lord always, he is the greatest yogi. He is the supermost Gyani. And he is also the greatest devotee at the same time. The Lord advises that tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara juddhas. As a Kshatriya, you cannot give up your fighting business. You have to fight. So, at the same time, if you practice remembering me always, then it will be possible, antakale chamami vasmaran, then it will be possible to remember me also at the time of death. Maya pito mano buddhi mameva sasi asangsaya. Again, he says that there is no doubt. If one is completely surrendered into the service of the Lord, into the transcendental loving service of the Lord, Mayarvita Mano Buddhi, because we work not with our body actually, we work with our mind and intelligence. So if our intelligence and mind are always engaged in the thought of the Supreme Lord, then naturally our senses are also engaged in the service of the Lord. That is the secret of Bhagavad Gita. One has to learn this art, how one can be absorbed both by the mind and intelligence, 24 hours thinking of the Lord. And that will help one to transfer himself into the kingdom of God or in the spiritual atmosphere after leaving this material body. The modern scientists, they're trying for years and years together for reaching the moon planet. And they have no approach as yet. But here in the Bhagavad Gita, here is a suggestion. Suppose a man lives for another 50 years and nobody tries to elevate himself in the spiritual ideas for 50 years. That's a very good idea. But even for 10 years or 5 years, one sincerely tries for this practice. Maya vito mano buddhi. It is simply a question of practice. And that practice can be very easily possible by the devotional process. Savanam. Savanam. The easiest process is to hear. Savanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padusevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasam, Dakkamatman, Vedam. These 9 processes. So, the easiest process is simply hearing. Hearing of this Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam from the realized person. That will train up oneself, into the thoughts of the Supreme Being, 24 hours, which will lead one ultimately, Antakali, to remember the Supreme Lord. And thus, leaving this body, he will have a spiritual body, just fit for association with the Lord. The Lord therefore says, Abhyasa yoga juktina chetusa nanugamina paramang purusang divyang yati partha anuchintayan. Anuchintayan. Constantly thinking of himself only. It is not very difficult process. One has to learn this process from the experienced person in this life. That vijnanatma sa gurumeva vigachet. One should approach a person who is already in the practice. So, abhyasa yoga juktena. This is called abhyasa yoga, practice. Abhyasa, how to remember the Supreme Lord always. Cetasa nanugamino. The mind is always flying to this, to that. So one has to practice to concentrate the mind into the form of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, always, all in the sound in his name, which is very easier. And instead of concentrating on my mind may be very restless, going hither and thither. But I can concentrate my ear into the sound, vibration of Krishna. And that will also help me. That is also Bhyasaru. Chitasa Nanugamina. Paramam Purusam. Dibbam. Paramam Purus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the spiritual kingdom, and the spiritual sky, one can approach Anuchintayan, constantly thinking. So, these processes, the ways and means, all are stated in the Bhagavad Gita. And there is no bar for anyone. It is not that that a particular class of men can approach. Thinking of Lord Krishna is possible. Hearing of Lord Krishna is possible by everyone. And the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mangi partha vipasritya jivisu papajuna. Sriya sudya tatha vishya stepi janti parangutim. Kinkuna brahmana punya bhakta rajasya satha. Asukam anittam asukam lokam nimam prapta bhajasama. The Lord says that even a, a human being in the lowest status of life, or even a fallen woman, or a mercantile man, or a liberal class of men. The mercantile class of men, the liberal class of men, and the woman class, they are counted in the same category because their intelligence is not so developed. But the Lord says, they also, or even lower than them, Mahi Partha Vipashitu JPs, not only they, or lower than them, or anyone, it does not matter who is he or who is he, anyone who accepts this principle of Bhakti Yoga and accept the Supreme Lord as the summum bonum of life, the highest target, highest goal of life. Mangi Partha Vipashitu JPs, Deepi Janti Parangati, that Paragati in the spiritual kingdom and the spiritual sky. Everyone can approach. Simply, one has to practice the system. That system is hinted in the Bhagavad Gita very nicely. And one can adopt it and make his life perfect and, and make a permanent solution of life. That is the sum and substance of the whole Bhagavad. Therefore, the conclusion is that Bhagavad Gita is a transcendental literature which one should read very carefully. Gita Shastramidang Punyam Jap Patet Prajata Puman. And the result will be, if he properly follows the instruction, then he can be freed from all miseries of life, all anxieties of life, bhaya shokadi vivarjitam, all fears of life in this life, as well as he will get a spiritual life in the next life. Gita dhyana silasya pranayama para pranayama parasya naiva santi papani purvajan kritani cha. Another advantage is that if one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness, then by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of his past misdeeds will not act upon him. The Lord says uh, uh, very loudly in the Bhagavad Gita, in the last portion, Aham tang sarupapi bha mokshoshami masucha. The Lord takes the responsibility. One who surrenders unto the Lord, he takes the responsibility to indemnify, uh, from all the actions of sins. Maranirmochanang pungsham jalasnanadi dine dine. Jalasnanang dine dine sakrit gitam snanam samsara malam nasanam. One cleanses oneself daily by taking bath in the water. But one who takes one's bath in the sacred Ganges water of Bhagavad Gita, his the dirty material life is altogether vanquished. Gita sugita kartabhya kimannai shastra vistrai ja sang padmanabhasya mukhapadma vinistrita. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, people should, uh, uh, people may not read all other Vedic literatures. Simply, if he attentively and regularly reads and hears Bhagavad Gita, Gita Sugita Kartabhya, and one should adopt these means, by all means, Gita Sugita Kartabhya Kimannai Shastra Vistrai. Because at the present age, people are embarrassed with so many things that it is hardly possible to divert their attention in all the Vedic literatures. This one literature will do, because it is the essence of all Vedic literature, and especially spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bharatam mita sarvasang Vishnu bhaktyad vinisitam Gita gangodakam pitva punarjanma navidyate. As it is said that one who drinks the water of the Ganges, he also gets salvation. Then what to speak of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is the nectar in the whole Mahabharata, and is spoken by Vishnu. Lord Krishna is the original Vishnu. Vishnu Bhaktad Ministritam. It is coming out of the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gangodakam, Ganges, is said to be emanated from the lotus feet of the Lord, and Bhagavad Gita is emanated from the mouth of the Lord. Of course, there is no difference between the mouth and the feet of the Supreme Lord. Still, uh, uh, from a neutral position, we can study that Bhagavad Gita is even more important than the Ganges water. Sarvopanisudo gava zugdha gopalanandana partha vatsa sudhir bhukta dugdhang gita amritam maha. Just this Gita is just like a cow, and the Lord is famous as cowboy, and he was milking this cow, Sarva Upanishad. And it is the essence of all Upanishads, and represented as the cow. And the Lord, being expert cowboy, he is milking the cow and Parthavasa. And Arjuna is just like the cup, and Sudhir Bhokta, and learned scholars and pure devotees. They are to take this milk. Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amritamahak. The nectar, the milk of Bhagavad Gita is meant for learned devotees. Evam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam Eka Deva Devaki Putra Eva Eka Mantra Stasya Navani Yani Karma Karmapi Ekang Tasya Devasya Seva. Now, the world should learn from the Bhagavad Gita the lesson. Evang Sastram Devakiputra Gitam. There is one scripture only, one common scripture for the whole world, for the people of the whole world, and that is this Bhagavad Gita. Deva Devaki Putra Eva. And there is one God for the whole world, is Sri Krishna. And Eka Mantra Stasya Navani, and one hymn, mantra, one hymn only, one prayer or one hymn is to chant his name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Eka mantra stasya navan jani. Karmapi ekang tasya devasya siva. And there is one work only, that is to serve the Supreme Personality of God. If one learns from Bhagavad Gita that the people are very much anxious to have one religion, one God, one scripture, and one business or one activity of life. This is summarized in the Bhagavad Gita, that one God is Krishna. Krishna is not sextarian God. Krishna, from the name of Krishna, Krishna means, as we have explained above, Krishna means the greatest pleasure. So therefore, संसारदावारललिरलोका त्रणाय कारुण्यघनाघनात्यम्
संसारदावानललिरलोका त्रणाय कारुण्यघनाघनात्यम्
प्राप्तस्य कल्याणगुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरश्री चरणारविन्दम्
प्राप्तस्य कल्याणगुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरश्री चरणारविन्दम्